Roll for Crit is supported by our friends on Patreon. Come join the High Rollers at patreon.com/rollforcrit. Just like last week, Gamefound isn't done with trying to come up with cool new projects. So let's see what both of these websites have to offer in this week's Kickstarter Pickstarter.
The Robinson Crusoe Collector's Edition is now on Gamefound from Portal Games. Robinson Crusoe is a survival adventure game played cooperatively, in which you're trying to make your way on an island, find food, and complete a scenario before it's too late and you succumb to disease or perhaps wild animals or who knows what manner of danger awaits you. This brand new Collector's Edition has essentially the same components and gameplay as the most recent edition from Portal Games, with a few upgrades. Awaken Realms is actually coming in to provide some brand new minis for the characters now, as well as a bigger box with brand new artwork that's going to have trays included for you to store all of the components neatly, organize them well. This will also include the Book of Adventures, a new scenario book that includes previous scenarios with some tweaks to them, as well as brand new scenarios and even some fan-made ones. So there are lots of different options for players if they want an easier, harder game, longer game, something horror-themed, fantasy-themed, whatever you want. This book is going to make that easier to look through. The Collector's Edition also includes a new tutorial scenario that will hopefully ease players into the game better. There's also an app as part of this campaign that is a companion app, which you can use for the cards that you use, and most of the things I've just said, you don't have to get all of them if you don't want to. There are a lot of different options. You can pick and choose what you're looking for, and that includes an upgrade pack if you already have the original Robinson Crusoe, or I should say the second edition of it. Then you can grab the Collector's Edition just to get purely the new stuff, or whatever you're trying to get. Robinson Crusoe, it's one of my favorite games. Really love it. This, even Ignacy, the designer, has said that if you have second edition, you don't really need to get this collector's edition. It's mostly the same thing, but it's great that they have that upgrade pack. If you do want those little minis, that's nice. And the Book of Adventures I've been excited about for a while, as well as the app. I like a nice, well-done companion app for a game like this. And it should be noted, that's going to be free. I don't think you need to even back this if you want to try out that app with the game. You could already.
It seems that regardless, there's something there for those who maybe haven't played Robinson Crusoe before, and it didn't forget about the veterans who have anything. You can just get what you need. I do think it's interesting the pairing with Awaken Realms, because, Awaken Realms, I think of these very heavy thematic story games, and Portal Games, they make games that tell stories. So I'm wondering if we're actually going to see maybe more team ups with these two companies later on, maybe possibly through Gamefound itself.
Yeah, maybe. It seems like a good partnership. They've also got stretch goals coming up. They've only announced the first one, which is another Awaken Realms, like a fully formed 3D model of your camp that you can upgrade as you play. So it seems like they're not just doing the minis. They're going to go above and beyond in terms of upgrading all other components as well. If you want to get all the new stuff in this campaign, you can for 115 euros. I'll let you do the conversion rates depending on where you are. Or you can buy it piecemeal, whatever you want to add to your collection.
Our next pick is appropriate since we're now officially in spring in the Northern Hemisphere, and that's Floriferous from Pencil First Games. This is from the same company that brought you the Whatnot Cabinet and Herbaceous, both on Kickstarter and making appearances on our Kickstarter Pickstarters. In this game, you will be gathering flowers in order to make the best arrangement by going through your garden. This is a set collecting game, but it's not simply who gets the most of a certain kind of points. The way the game actually works is you're going to go through columns per day. And these columns will have cards such as flowers. And you're going to choose your pawn and place them on one of the cards, either on the top, the middle, or bottom, so to speak. And the one trick is the bottom cards will actually be cards that tell you you want insects or purple flowers. So you're making a decision of whether to add to your collection or to add to the cards that will actually score you the points. In addition, depending on where you place your little pawn, also will set what the next turn order is for next picking. So you're not simply just choosing, I want this card. You might be like, there's these two cards I like, but if I pick this one, I'm going to have earlier turn order. And there's a card in the next column I really want, or I really don't want another player to get. So I feel like there's a good job of this capturing a simple, nothing like too pressurized, but it's not like I'm not thinking at all. I'm just picking cards. There's going to be some decision making there, which I think is fun. So it's the perfect amount, I think, of strategy without being too stressful. It's got a solo player mode too, which I think is hilarious because both games you're collecting stones, and these stones pretty much tell you that you're taking your time, and whoever collects the most gets this cup of tea. In the solo player mode, there's a crow that's bothering you, which personally I feel like in my little experience with the gardens, it's not crows that bother me, it's groundhogs. But if you really don't like this crow, you could throw the cup of tea at it.
Hey, I mean, they have scarecrows for a reason, right? There's no scare groundhogs.
That is true. Well, there's a different way to scare groundhogs, and that's by like getting a dog.
Yeah, there's all manner of ways to deal with it. I really like the sound of this game too. I always enjoy that mechanic of trading off perhaps an optimal choice for an earlier turn order. I think that's a fun trade off.
Yeah, I
Hmm.
always love when turn order is never solid. It
Yep.
always it makes you have to think a little bit more. It's always funny when like, all right, I forgot you're not before me. And this won't be you won't have as many of those worries in this one because this is not like these 4X kind of games where that kind of change could make a huge difference. But it's still enough that it's gonna be fun to think about, oh, I can take this so I can go earlier. And the fact that you can sort of craft your point system too, I think is gonna be a lot of fun for people.
Yeah, and I like the designers on this one. I think they have kind of a dream team here. You've got Eduardo from Pencil First, but also Keith Matejka is doing the solo mode, who's from Thunderworks Games, like from the Role Player series, and Steve Finn, Dr. Finn's Games, does the design of the game proper. So it's a fun blend of different designers and different companies.
We've got great designers, great art, great mechanics, and a great price. If you want to back this one, it's only going to be $20, which is definitely on the cheaper end for board games, but you still get a great value. Let us know if this is the project you're looking to back.
Board Game Tables returns to Kickstarter with 3 new games in their latest project. First up is Ghosts of Christmas, a trick-taking game based on the Christmas Carol, in which there are 3 different tricks, and you're playing cards into those, all 3 of them, trying to win them as the game goes on, and you're betting to see how many tricks you think you're going to win, like a classic trick-taking game with a bit of a twist. Then there's Factory Funner, which is a re-implementation or sequel to Factory Fun. This one is funner, you see. In this one, you are trying to gather different factory parts for your own personal board, different machines, and connect them with a series of connection parts. And you're trying to match up colors and numbers in certain ways so that the machines make sense to maximize your points. And there's also a little bit of a speed element to it as you're trying to take the machines that you want before other players can, while trying to make sure they will work well with your current design. And then lastly is a game called Bear Raid, which is a stock market game. You are choosing which stocks you want to buy and which stocks you want to short. And you will also have a set of dice that apply to some of the different companies, but these dice are kept behind a personal player screen. So depending on which dice you decide to use each round, you could use some, you could use none. They'll be drawn out of a bag later. They will affect the given prices of the different companies' stocks. So that will change what other people are doing and what the value of their stocks may be over time. 3 very different games, all 3 of which sounded really interesting to me. Usually when there's multiple games on Kickstarter, sometimes there's one that you're like, I don't know about that one. All 3 of these I like the sounds of. Ghosts of Christmas I really like because, we need more Christmas themed board games, I think. That's just fun in general. And the machine one, Factory Funner, seems also really interesting. I love the puzzle aspect of it and building something on your board. It kind of looks like, one of those pipe connecting games where where you have to make things work. Puzzly kind of thing that I enjoy.
I was gonna say, I mean, all of them look great, but definitely the Factory Funner is one if I had to choose one, because I don't know why it just looks like you're gonna make this crazy pattern that reminds me of those I think they're called Rube Goldberg machines, when like the
Right.
marble goes down and does all this crazy stuff. And it just seems like the kind of thing that'd be fun to just see, like regardless of win or lose, what ends up on the board.
Yeah, not just fun, funner perhaps. You can back all 3 of these games for $69, or you can just get one of them. Check the Kickstarter page to see what the individual prices are.
Grail Games is bringing back Fjords to Kickstarter with a little help to help update it, with Beth Sobel doing the art. She did Wingspan and Viviculture, as well as Phil Walker Harding, who's actually going to add some new content to make it more than just simply a remake of the original. If you don't know about this game, in the old one, you'd be first laying out tiles to make your landscape. Now, these tiles, of course, will have to match everything exactly, so you can't have any weird mismatches. So depending on what tiles you draw and when, you're going to have really weird, unique maps. Then you're going to play your longhouses. These are pretty much your base of operations, which afterwards you're going to play your Vikings. Now, they're not going to be just raiding as you might expect in some other games. They're simply claiming the lands. And whoever has the best job in order to claim these new fjords will be the winner. Now, like I said, there's going to be some new unique modules that you can throw in, such as runestones, which add unique abilities to those who claim them on their longhouses. This looks like a simple but really fun game, and I'm glad not only is it getting the update in the art, but those extra modules I think are really cool too, because I think that's the kind of thing that works really well in games like these, to be like, all right, let's try a game when we add this rule in, or take this rule out, or if you want to be crazy, you add multiple ones in, and that usually ends up into a crazy chaos fest where you don't know how the game's going to end up because there's so many weird things going on.
Yeah, it seems like a good, simple baseline, but like you said, I think the runes are really interesting. Some of them are most of them are for points gathering at the end of the game. They give you different ways to score points, but some of them, the players themselves actually have and can spend for different purposes. So there's a good variety of things that those add to mix things up. It seems very, very simple on the surface, so I'm curious to try it for myself and see how it comes together when you play it.
I'll also point out, because I sort of joked a little bit about it too, it's definitely, if I said, I want to play a game about Vikings with you, you're probably thinking about like longships that are attacking and stuff. I just feel like this fits more like a nice calming, like, look, we're just seeing the world, getting lands. Like, it's nothing nearly as combative and aggressive as you might expect with that theme. Now, once again, this one is not too bad either. You can back this one for only $26, give or take, of course, if you want some other stuff as well.
My last pick is a set of smaller role-playing games in the form of a short subscription service called Possible Worlds. This includes 6 different role-playing games with wildly different themes that you'll be receiving over the course of a 6-month period. There are some really unique ones in here. One of the games is called Dating Sim, in which players enact a sort of game show style dating game. There's also a farming letter writing game that's inspired by stuff like Harvest Moon and Stardew Valley, where you are writing letters talking about how your farm is going. There's one in which you're trying to pull off a heist while other players are trying to stage a performance to distract an audience. And there's also one that is a world in which everyone was granted 3 wishes, but you have used up all of your wishes, so you're now trying to find people with more wishes to give you. Very unique, weird ideas for settings, and each of them use slightly different mechanics. Some of them work better with different amounts of players. Some of them will have even solo mode, or maybe just for 2 players. Some will use dice, some will not use dice. But all of them are brought together by the fact that they are designed so that people who have never played RPGs before can jump into these and understand them easily. That's the overall philosophy behind them, according to the page. I think there's some really unique ideas in there, and we've had fun with all the zines and everything. The idea of subscribing and getting these little mini RPGs, I think, is a cool idea.
I love the idea. I think it makes perfect sense, because I think when it comes to RPGs, some of my favorite ones are not like your classic, what you're used to expect. They're more like maybe something weird. It's maybe just a one shot, or not meant to be this entire long campaign, but it's still fun. And the fact you have a subscription service by one like designer means it's going to be something that's nice, that looks great all together. And of course, just looking at some of these alone, like for example, the dating one I think is hilarious, because the first half is picking this winning suitor, like your basic dating game. But then the other half is the winner going on the date with the suitor, and all the other players now play like the suitor, like it becomes this crazy amalgamation of like all their different emotions, which could be hilarious. And then of course the one called Hound, if I'm recalling correctly, is about a pilot like connecting with his mech. So I love mechs. It seems that like it's gonna get all the different kinds of themes there too. So you're not just gonna be like, what's the next dungeon crawl one coming up?
Yeah, a lot of very different, unique things to dive into. If you like the sound of them, you can subscribe for the physical versions for $50, or you can get all of them digitally for $25, or just see if you want any of the individual ones, you can do that as well.
Those are our picks for this week. And once again, like I said, another one from Gamefound. It seems like maybe we're going to start having one Gamefound creation each week. We'll see what happens, but I'm very curious to see how this goes.
Yeah, we'll see if they keep up the same pace. It seems like they are making a big push. They've got these projects lined up that we talked about in one of our news videos recently. A lot of interesting games this week. I really liked some of them, and a lot of them on the cheaper end, which is nice. So you should talk to us in the comments and let us know which ones you are looking at. Are you a Robinson Crusoe player? Are you back in the new stuff? Or are you looking at some of these smaller games? Let us know in the comments. We will read them. My name is Jonathan.
My name is Will.
And this has been Roll for Crit. Like this video, subscribe to our channel, and support us on Patreon. That would make us happy.
Maybe the next video is the one where Jonathan does a silly dance.